It's recording. So today I want to talk about movement velocity, or more accurately, descent velocity. I want to talk about how fast you should be taking your descents during your squats and bench press. Obviously this applies to squats and bench press as they've got an eccentric phase, unlike the deadlift. Now when trying to decide how fast you should be going down in the descent, in the down phase, in the eccentric phase of your lift, there's a couple of different relationships that you need to consider. So what I want to do today is explore those relationships and how you can make a deliberate decision as to how fast you want to, go down with your lift for the best performance possible. Okay, so the first and probably most significant relationship that you need to consider is the speed-accuracy trade-off, or commonly referred to as the Fitts law. Now this was something that was first proposed in the 1950s, and basically it outlines the relationship between speed and accuracy. So primarily it's used in like spatial awareness tasks or ball-based tasks. So for example, throwing a ball or serving a tennis ball, something like that. And it basically says that the faster or the harder you try and throw the ball, hit the ball, or any other projectile, the more mistakes you're going to make, the less accurate you'll be, the more accuracy suffers. So a perfect example is in the sport of tennis. If you're a tennis fan, you'll know that first serves tend to be hit much faster than second serves because the player will deliberately strike the ball with less speed on the second serve in order to be more accurate, in order to reduce the risk of a double fault. So this is a really important consideration that can be extrapolated into lifting weights. The faster you go down in your descent, the less accurate you'll be. And that's really important to consider. The faster you go down, the more mistakes you're going to make. So it's important to move relatively slowly, if you're only considering this trade-off, in order to minimize mistakes. However, once you look at the second consideration, the second relationship, you'll understand why it's beneficial to move fast. And the second one is the relationship between speed and stretch reflex. The stretch reflex is something that most people are aware of. It's basically when a muscle is suddenly stretched or suddenly moved eccentrically, that there's a reflex, an automatic reflex, that causes that muscle to contract. And the relationship here is the faster a muscle is stretched, the more aggressive the reflex, the more aggressive the force output is on the concentric. I'm going to put a graphic up on the screen now. And basically if you look at the middle image shows that force is magnified where there's an eccentric component, as opposed to the left image where there was no eccentric component in the first place. Compare that though to the image on the right, and what you'll see is that because of that pause, there's a 0.9 second pause, because there's no speed, the reflex, the force output is heavily reduced. And that's something that you'll know or be aware of because pause squats are harder than regular squats, pause bench press is harder than touch and go bench press, pause deadlifts or reset deadlifts are harder than touch and go deadlifts. So for that reason, we want speed, we want to be fast, we want to drop quickly in both squats and bench press. So when you're considering that in isolation, we want to go as fast as we can. Now the third relationship that we need to look at is the relationship between movement velocity and skill acquisition. So basically what this means, and one of the sayings that I use when I'm teaching people how to lift, especially beginners, one of the sayings that I use is the faster you move, the slower you learn. Okay, so what that means is that the faster someone executes a lift, the faster they go down, the faster they go up, they're going to have less of a learning phase. You're not going to take that skill on very quickly. That's why beginners often will move slowly, or they're told to move slowly. Whenever someone's learning a new skill, I always make them go slow. Move slowly. Feel out the positions. Understand these positions. If any of you are coached by me, or any of the lifters that are coached by me, you'll know that I often like to prescribe tempo bench press and tempo squats. So basically that's slow eccentrics, 4 seconds, 5 seconds, sometimes even 6 second eccentrics on the squat and bench press. And I use this for a number of reasons, one of them being the slower you move, the faster you learn. So by moving slowly in our descents, by controlling the descents, controlling the eccentrics really, really well, it gives you an opportunity to feel the positions. It gives you an opportunity to propriocept positions, to feel, am I balanced? You're going down slowly in a squat, you can feel, am I balanced, am I centered, this is wrong, and your accuracy improves, right? You become, your learning phase improves, your skill acquisition improves. So when we're deciding our movement velocity, how fast we want to go down in our lifts, those are the three considerations. The first is the speed accuracy trade-off. That is, the faster you go, the more mistakes you'll make. The second is the speed and stretch reflex relationship. That is, the faster you go, the bigger bounce, the more stretch reflex you get. And the third is, the faster you go, the less skill acquisition you're going to receive. And that is, the slower you go, the faster you're going to learn that skill. So if you're looking at it from a purely performance point of view, it's really the first two that you need to consider. You need to consider, how skillful are you? My rule of thumb is that the more advanced the lifter is, the faster they can be in their descents, particularly in a squat and bench press, obviously. So for example, someone who's really, really skilled, with lots and lots of time under the bar, thousands of reps performed in their training career, they can afford to be more aggressive in their descents because they're less likely to make mistakes in the first place. Their technique is most likely really, really well ingrained, and they're not going to be making many mistakes at all. So they can afford to be more aggressive. They can afford to be faster in the descent to take advantage of the stretch reflex. Whereas if you've got a beginner, someone with less experience, someone that's not as perfect with their technique, then it might not be worth that risk. You know, going faster, yes, you might get a bigger reflex, bigger bounce, bigger stretch reflex, sorry, but you're more likely to make mistakes. You might lose position, you might lose tightness, you might shift left and right, you might shift forward and backwards. So in order to take advantage of both of these relationships, what I often teach people to do is take on a tempo that transitions from slow to fast. So what this might mean is that, for example, in a squat, is to start the squat slowly. That is, make the top, say, third, really slow. Slow enough that you're ensuring that you're in good positions. You know, you're going down slow enough that you can feel that this is good. As you kind of get about 30% of the way down, you might start to accelerate. And you might say, okay, I'm in good positions, I'm confident enough to go a little bit quicker. So you take on more speed, and then when you're 70% of the way down, 2/3 of the way down, you've been going slow enough that you've had an opportunity to self-direct yourself and make sure that your technique's good and you're not making mistakes. But you're close enough to the hole that the risk of error is quite low already, and you can really accelerate and kind of hit the hole fast. So it's almost like a transition. You start slow and you kind of hit the hole a bit quicker. And the same thing can be said for bench press. That is, start the descent relatively slow and transition towards speed in order to get the best of both worlds. So deciding exactly how fast you want to go in your descent is obviously something that you need to experiment, but let it be a conscious decision. Let it be something that you explore with your coach. Let it be something that you think about consciously, based on some of these points. And I hope that's really, really helpful for you guys. If you've got any questions, feel free to leave those comments in the section below. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already. Share this video around if you found it useful. And I'll be sharing some more videos in the next couple of weeks. Thank you. Classic.
Oh my god, it wasn't recording.
Are you taking a piss?
No.
Didn't you press record?
No.
Oh my god, okay, you've literally got one job. I'm sorry I'm gonna get angry at you, but fuck.